On Saturday, April 23rd of this year in the Fort Worth, Dallas, Texas area, I will be at the Better Discourse 4 event. It's live panels. There's going to be a bunch of creators there, including Blair White, Steven Destiny Bonnell, Nuance Bro, finally getting invited to something, moving up them small channels, friend of the channel Mike Harlow, Ben Burgess, among many others, including my favorite of all time of all the speakers, Taba'a, and of course, Taba'a. Come out, see us live, it's great, take pictures, come to the after party, buy me a drink, I won't buy you a drink, have a great time, but get the video starting. So in my last video where I talked about Russia, where I explained eloquently and beautifully that the reason why Russia always, for hundreds of years, since before the United States and since before the dreaded NATO aggression, unless you believe in the time-traveling NATO theory, always invades its neighbors because it wants buffer states because its capital is very vulnerable geographically. I also played a clip of Cenk Meltdown making the case that the reason the right wing was supporting Putin was because he was white. I showed his tweet, we talked about it, we laughed about it, and I said we would leave it for another day. For another video, I have to do a whole deep dive on it, and congratulations to you out there in the world. Today is that day. This is that video. And it's about to get even better because a lot of the people that they framed as white supremacist supporters of Putin have changed their positions to supporting the Ukraine. And all of a sudden, and I know it's not the Ukraine, I just know it bothers you guys. And all of a sudden, support for Ukraine is in fact white supremacist Republican racism as well. No, I'm not joking. This is a double dose of TYT cringe. Let's roll into our ad, which is Virtual Shield, which cannot shield you from the Young Turks cringe, unfortunately, but it can shield you from viruses and other problems of people tracking your stuff. Ad read, then back on the other side. The US government has been warning about cyber attacks for years, and some of the largest cyber attacks in our history have been tied to the Russians. Now more than ever, your personal data is vulnerable to these hackers. This is one of the reasons why I have partnered with Virtual Shield. Protect yourself from these hackers, and if you sign up for Virtual Shield at virtualshield.com/justice, you can get 50% off your lifetime subscription. Also, you got that thing if you like streaming in other countries where you could change your location, virtualshield.com/justice. So the video we're talking about today is entitled Why Right-Wingers Love Putin, and the reason this video exists is because Cenk Meltdown put out a ridiculously stupid and absurd tweet about how they love Putin because he's white, even though he's invading Ukraine, which is a nation of white people, and therefore they're evil white racists. So he got ratioed into the ground on this. People made fun of him every way from Sunday, but Cenk made this video as a response in order to deal with it while simultaneously doubling down on his idiotic take. And when we talk about idiotic takes, who better to open up the video than Anna Kasparian in order to fillet Cenk's ego?
Well, our very own Cenk Meltdown was trending on Twitter today because he apparently triggered the right wing with a simple tweet. Let me read that tweet to you.
Anna, nobody was triggered in the right wing by Cenk's tweet. Maybe if you get triggered by unbelievably stupid takes, but your smug look, your smile is not appealing to anybody. You're not fooling anybody. You're not going to be able to pull the wolves over our eyes in this video, even though you're definitely going to try. But go ahead, read the tweet for the class so we can see what an utter buffoon Cenk is.
He says, right wing doesn't love Putin just because he's an authoritarian, tyrannical leader. They love him because he's a white authoritarian leader. Race has become more important than even nationality. They've turned on democracy and now even America in favor of a white warlord. Now that immediately led to all this backlash because let me tell you something, the one thing the right wing doesn't like is you telling them exactly who they are.
So Anna Kasparian's like, there was so much backlash to Cenk's idiotic, stupid take, and the reason why there was so much backlash, the reason why people were making fun of Cenk Meltdown on Twitter, is because he was telling the right wing exactly who they are. This was Cenk's Yas Queen moment. Yas Queen Cenk, we're so proud of you. You told the right wing exactly who they were, and all the criticism of you is just proof, it's evidence that you're correct on this issue or whatever. whatever. Let me roll into an example to better exemplify how correct you are.
It happened when I said I was better than the racists that were, comparing Leslie Jones to Harambe the gorilla. They didn't like the fact that I called them out on their racism. So every time they want to like come at me, they're like, are you better than me? I am better than you. I'm saying it again. Go cry about it.
Yes. This video features another Ana Kasparian I'm better than you moment, and she's referencing a story where right-wingers were allegedly comparing Leslie Jones to Harambe, where she said she was better than those people, and yes, those people need to stop crying about it. Here's the thing, I basically rejuvenated this Ana Kasparian I'm better than you clip when I did my 5-year review of it, and we went over that in complete and utter amazing detail. You can click the video, watch it for yourself, it will be in the iCard and it will be linked in the description. You know what was not featured at all whatsoever in the Harambe memes that Ana Kasparian showed in that clip? The Leslie Jones thing. The reason why this was not featured is because the whole Leslie Jones Harambe comparison didn't occur until Ghostbusters 2016 came out. Now, if Anna was actually interested in defending her saying that she's better than you, why does she have to consistently change what actually happened in that video and what she was freaking out about? If you'll remember, she did a video where she was trying to deal with the fact that people were making fun of her about 1.5 to 2 years later, where she said the memes that she were getting angry about were all about how Obama is actually comparable to a gorilla. However, as explained in my previous video, this was not featured in the original video that they were talking about.
Now, I showed you every single meme that the Young Turks showed in their original segment. Every single one. I'll put them all on screen for you right now and juxtapose it to this image that Anna dug up. This was not among them, meaning that Ana Kasparian went out of her way in an effort to defend herself, to highlight something she was not reacting to at the time, to portray it racist. And she put Michelle Obama next to a gorilla. Ana Kasparian is showing this to you so that she could virtue signal against it and pretend retroactively, years later, that she was virtue signaling against this.
Let me put up all the memes on the screen from the original video. And as you can see, all of these memes have to do with Black Lives Matter, and Ana Kasparian had a meltdown talking about unarmed black people being killed by the cop.
I proudly, will wear that label. I love being a social justice warrior. I'd rather be a social justice warrior than a piece of fucking shit, okay? How about that? And so this is how they get joy in their life. And I feel like if you see memes like that, or if you see people getting attacked, or if you will sit back and have no emotion when you see unarmed individuals getting shot and killed, well then, I mean, look, you're a sociopath. You're a sociopath. But am I saying that I'm better than you? I guess I'm going a little further than you are. Yeah, I'm fucking better than you, okay? Much better than you. You are garbage, okay? If you get a rise out of attacking the powerless, you're garbage. And you can call me a social justice warrior, you can call me whatever the fuck you want. At this point, I don't give a shit, okay? That's it. That's who I am. And it is what it is. That's it. That's who I am. But am I saying that I'm better than you? I guess I'm going a little further than you are. Yeah, I'm fucking better than you.
Okay? Much better than you.
But here's the thing, as explained in that video, Ana Kasparian was misconstruing criticism of Black Lives Matter, people making fun of Black Lives Matter, with actual racism. Because what actually happened, and the reason this whole kerfuffle came about, and the reason Harambe memes were Black Lives Matter themed in the first place, is before we knew the identity of the kid, before we knew the race of the kid that had actually snuck into the enclosure that resulted in the death of Harambe, Black Lives Matter organizers were saying that it was a white kid and white privilege, and if it was a black kid, they would have found the trank.
Killing an endangered gorilla at a zoo to protect a white boy is white privilege, but we also have this other tweet where they say if the boy was black, they would have found a tranquilizer.
These were the tweets all around related to this story. So what actually was going on was Black Lives Matter injected race into this. We found out that Harambe was actually coming close to a black kid who snuck into the enclosure.
Oh, so you said that it was a white guy. What happened?
And people on the internet were making fun of Black Lives Matter, the organization. Then, again, all explained in great detail in my video, Black Lives Matter actually started comparing the black experience to the experience of Harambe because they could not back out of the situation. Anna Kasparian ignores all this because all this would make her meltdown even more ridiculous, even though this is the documented evidence reality, and she keeps changing her story just to show you how much that clip actually bothers her, because it was Anna revealing who she actually is, because every single video on the Young Turks is all about Anna Kasparian playing as somebody who is better than you, lecturing you from a position of unearned moral authority, and no matter how many times she says that she likes the clip, the fact that she can never own up to what was actually the thing that she was freaking out about just goes to show you who she is and how much it bothers her. That's Anna Kasparian. She hates you for disagreeing with her politically. She freaks out at the drop of the hat.
Am I saying that I'm better than you? I guess I'm going a little further than you are. Yeah, I'm fucking better than you, okay? Much better than you. You are garbage. You're garbage.
And yes, she thinks that she's better than you. On top of that, if we want to talk about exactly who you are, if we want to talk about who the person is that we're talking about, Anna Kasparian is also the person who took a job from somebody who is actively and publicly denying the Armenian genocide in an organization that was named for the perpetrators of the Armenian genocide, because Cenk was the only person who would put her at age 20 on air. And the reason Cenk hired Anna is because you don't have to pay a 20-year-old virtually everything. That's who Anna Kasparian is, somebody who would forsake her own people, join up with a denier of the Holocaust of her own people, all because she wants attention so that she can tell you how much she is your moral superior.
You're garbage.
But anyway, Cenk, I thought that your tweet was fine. You know, I think that the reason why some people have a knee-jerk reaction to it is because you do have some elements of the Democratic Party weaponizing race to their advantage all the time.
Cenk, the guy who signs my paychecks, I thought your tweet was fine. I thought it was amazing. And the reason why some people are mad is because some Democrats occasionally, if you can believe this, actually use race where inappropriate to gain political power. But not here, not at the Young Turks, never, no way, no how, but sometimes that does happen, so a lot of people were freaking out about it. Also, people were calling the other side racist too, which we're gonna do in literally a day after this video is released, but Cenk, it's your tweet. A+, money, you nailed it.
But in this case, I think that you actually have a lot of credibility in that argument, and we have receipts to show you.
Yeah.
So
I mainly care about the receipts.
Okay, so I just want to point out that what we're talking about is evidence. Receipts is how little girls on YouTube talk about evidence. It's how the T YouTubers discuss evidence. So Cenk, being the nearly 50-year-old man, if not already 50-year-old man, talking about how he has receipts, what he's referencing is that he has evidence. And I am going to expect a lot of evidence for Cenk to say that the reason right-wingers, the whole right wing, loves Vladimir Putin is because he's white and they love white ringers, and also race is so much more important to the right wing than anything else. They just identify as white people. So Cenk, I can't wait for your evidence. I know it's going to be good because you wouldn't make that stupid tweet, get made fun of over and over again, and then come to the table with nothing, would you, Cenk? Yes, we all know the answer is he 100% would, and he definitely did in this video.
But guys, Dave, the culture wars are so prevalent now. Trump started it by saying, "Oh, Putin, I like Putin. Putin's a good guy, right?" Yeah. And Trump had a personal financial interest in it, and his sons have said it many times, not related to his presidential campaign. Whether it was related to his administration is a different question.
So I just want to point out, now we're talking about Trump, and Cenk is saying that Trump was saying all these good things about Vladimir Putin and praising him over and over again. By the way, this is actually true. Trump was very soft in his language related to Vladimir Putin during the campaign and sometimes during his presidency. However, in terms of policy, the Trump administration was actively and consistently arming the Ukrainians to fight against the Russians. He was basically doing all the things that conservatives would want you to do to keep Vladimir Putin in check, and wouldn't you know it, Vladimir Putin turned out to invade the Ukraine under Obama, and then under Obama's VP, aka Joe Biden, because obviously Trump, despite his rhetoric, his policy was where it was at in terms of containing somebody like Vladimir Putin and Russia.
But now Tucker Carlson didn't have to do it, and all the other right-wing pundits and media figures didn't have to do it. They're all choosing to celebrate Putin in different ways. And so I was wondering why. What a weird turn. It's Alice in Wonderland. It's upside down world. The right wing used to hate the Soviet Union and the goddamn Ruskies, the Russians were the worst. They're the ones who did the Red Scare. Now all of a sudden they're like, oh, Putin is strong and wonderful and oh, it's just so great, right? You're like, what the world happened?
So it needs to be pointed out that one of the stupidest clips that we've seen on the internet.com related to the whole Russia-Ukraine situation came from literally Cenk's nephew, somebody who loves the Soviet Union, somebody who is a communist simp, somebody who was praising Vladimir Putin because he's anti-American, which is a fundamental ideology that transcends right and left, where he said that it was okay for Russia to invade Ukraine in order to get certain Russian ethnic territories because you're allowed to invade a place in order to better strengthen ethnic ties.
But like, you feeling bad about the Crimean annexation does not change the reality of the Crimean annexation being a completely justifiable fucking act by the Russian government, okay? So that's it. That's fine.
And this is something that Cenk's nephew doubled down on after somebody pointed out that this was exactly what Adolf Hitler did and the justification he used for his first couple of annexations. And Cenk doubled down on that anyway, because that's how anti-American Cenk's own nephew is.
And Hitler invaded countries based on Germanic ties at first? Yeah, dude. Talk to me when he's fucking throwing Ukrainians in a fucking... What are you talking about? Talk to me when he's throwing Ukrainians in a concentration camp, okay? Hitler wasn't fucking bad because he decided to invade Austria. He was bad because he was fucking killing Jews, okay? That was the problem. He wasn't like, oh yeah, we're gonna fucking annex territory with like Germanic people in it. That wasn't the main problem with Hitler, I think. That was like maybe eighth down the line.
But of course, we're not gonna talk about that. We're only gonna talk about the right wing.
And they are desirous of a white leader who takes charge and is a strong man.
So here we have Cenk throwing out more allegations. By the way, this isn't even Cenk's own unique take. Bill Maher said something like this years ago in one of his New Rules segments.
But for such a fundamental shift, for an entire party, there has to be something more going on here, and I think there is. I think the dirty little secret about the Republicans and their newfound love for baseball, apple pie, and Mother Russia is that it's about race. Russia is one of the last places on earth to say, fuck diversity, we're here, we're white, get used to it. Wingnuts used to accuse Obama of being a foreign agent who took over America. But when a foreign power actually did take over America, and it was the proudly white one, their response was, come right on in. To the members of the grand old party, Russian meddling in our elections isn't a breach of national security. It's just white people helping white people.
Just to show you how Cenk is garbling up and even plagiarizing the dumb things that he puts out there.
And mainly, you remember the right wing never cared about democracy. And they showed it on January 6th, but they've been showing it our whole history.
Cenk, I'm waiting for the evidence. Are you going to present the evidence or not? Now, we all know the answer is or not because Cenk is making ridiculous claims right here. But it's funny because he has to make it even more ridiculous. He's going to bring up slavery, which is ironic because we're talking about Slavic peoples, aka the peoples of which the word slave is actually literally derived from. But okay, let's hear Cenk ramble about slavery because we need to hear about slavery and how the right wing did slavery because the right wing racist in slavery.
They were like, oh, democracy and equality for black people? No, we're gonna do slavery, then we're gonna do Jim Crow, and we're gonna make sure that they don't have equality for hundreds of years. Who did that? The right wing did that. They've never cared about democracy. They just wanna be in charge. And when they see Vladimir Putin pushing people around, they're like, there's a good white guy pushing people around, not taking any flack, not doing any of this woke nonsense. Go get him, Putin. That's why, because their identity has become not American, but white.
So I just want to point out that slavery had nothing to do with race. Slavery was an institution across the world before we had the modern conception of race. And in fact, a lot of racism in the United States of America was an outgrowth of trying to justify slavery because uniquely, for one of the first times in history, there was a racial difference between slave and slaver. Slavery was occurring in Africa. Where do you think we bought the slaves from? And this was a common practice, again, so common among Slavic peoples to be enslaved that the word slave literally derives from Slav. But okay, Cenk, sure, the right wingers were like, no, we don't want equality for black people, so we'll start the transatlantic slave trade in order to not have equality for black people. By the way, the biggest defenders of slavery, obviously the Democratic Party, but whatever. It was the right wing, even though Woodrow Wilson was the president during the progressive era, and he's the one who screened Birth of a Nation, which jump-started the KKK again in the United States of America, which became the militant arm of the Democratic Party, and this was the progressive era of the Democratic Party, whatever. The right wing did it. Right-winger Woodrow Wilson, with the income tax that he promised to only use on the rich and all these other things that the left loves about him, definitely king racist. The Princeton Ivy League progressive era president, definitely right-wing evil, right-wing racist.
You remember the right wing never cared about democracy. And they showed it on January 6th.
Where were you January 6th? I was at a car dealership looking at a car. I was trying to buy a car, but then the guy tried to tell me that frame damage was not actually serious damage to a vehicle. And when I was thinking about this frame damage in this vehicle and this person lying to me, I looked up on my TV and I saw our republic getting frame damage. Because January 6th was truly the darkest day in American history where our republic fell. Oops, I accidentally showed you guys an image of one of the random days of the Black Lives Matter riots. My bad. I really just January 6th. Where were you? Let me know in the comments down. Where were you January 6th? Let me know in the comments down. Where were you?
That's why, because their identity has become not American, but white.
What can you say for this level of analysis in terms of politics? The identity has become American but not white. By the way, Cenk in other videos will say that the American identity is white. That's what he says about Make America Great Again, how it's a code word for Make America White, Evil, and Racist Again, because they see America as white, but the American identity now is not even matter anymore, just the white identity matters. And what a coincidence, Cenk has been talking about how he's obsessed with the white identity and smearing it in every way humanly possible and making it the evilest thing in the world. And congratulations, the white identity has just proclaimed itself to be the evilest thing in the world, and only Cenk Uygur, our wisdom professor from the top of the hill that is bringing us the knowledge, has seen it coming and is identifying it right now. He's the only one who knows about it because he always knew about it. Isn't that a coincidence right there?
So we have examples for you. So here's a quick mashup of videos featuring prominent right-wingers filleting Vladimir Putin. Let's watch.
So before we see this compilation that some idiot intern at the Young Turks mashed up together, remember, Cenk's tweet says the right wing loves Vladimir Putin because Putin is a white authoritarian, emphasis on white, because that's what they love because the white identity has taken over. Cenk has doubled down on this claim in this video. That's the claim from his original tweet. So let's hear if we can identify any of these prominent right-wingers saying that they love Vladimir Putin and that they love him because he's white, and white is the most important identity. Let's see if anything even remotely hints at that.
Putin ain't woke. He is anti-woke.
The Russians, people still know which bathroom to use.
They know how many genders are there in Russia?
2.
Okay, so we have Steve Bannon on a radio show, and Steve Bannon, by the way, is more in line with the European right than the American right. And right there, he wasn't talking about anything having to do with anything related to race. He was talking about how Vladimir Putin isn't woke, which, by the way, you shouldn't be woke. Just because Vladimir Putin is allegedly not woke doesn't mean that means that that's an evil position. And then he starts talking about trans issues. When you talk about the bathrooms and how many genders there are, they're referring to trans. So we're not talking about race in that first clip. So the receipts, the evidence so far, no bueno, not very good. Not nailing it on your evidence. Cenk, come on, do better than that. You gotta justify that tweet.
Since the day that Donald Trump became president, Democrats in Washington have told you have a patriotic duty to hate Vladimir Putin. It's not a suggestion, it's a mandate. Anything less than hatred for Putin is treason. Many Americans have obeyed this directive. They now dutifully hate Vladimir Putin. Maybe you're one of them.
So we have Tucker Carlson right here saying that people in the Democratic Party have tried to tie Trump to Putin. True. These ties were nonsensical, by the way, so that's why it's being covered on Fox. And he's saying that they're essentially making it your patriotic duty to dislike Vladimir Putin, and this is due to the fact that he meddled in our election and got Trump elected, or something, collusion, whatever, something that never materialized in the Mueller investigation. This has nothing to do with anything related to race or anything like that. That is not what Tucker Carlson was talking about. And then it cuts to Donald Trump, meaning that this clip, also 0 for 2 for the Young Turks, doesn't really show anything. Next up is President Trump himself.
And I said, this is genius. Putin declares a big portion of the Ukraine. Putin declares it as independent. Oh, that's wonderful.
So there's Trump on the Buck Sexton show. Now, I didn't look this up. I didn't research it. I didn't go into that episode because the Young Turks doesn't really cite anything other than the Buck Sexton show, and he probably interviewed Trump multiple different times. But the way that Trump is talking about this doesn't seem like he's even pro the annexation of Crimea. He's talking about how Putin did this, and a lot of people were like, oh, that's great, and he's not really moving on or anything like that. It seems like he was probably trying to say that the Democrats are softer on Russia than him, but that's just me trying to glean that from that snippet, that little clip, that sentence fragment that the Young Turks brought up, that doesn't prove anything related to the point that they were trying to make.
Also remember the t-shirts we saw at Trump rallies. I'd rather be Russian than a Democrat.
And then we have the fourth piece of evidence, which is random people wearing t-shirts saying, I would rather be Russian than a Democrat. By the way, people on the left were saying that all these right-wingers that supported President Trump were in line with the Russians and therefore they were traitors. So these people probably bought these t-shirts, if they didn't make them themselves, in order to point out that they would rather be with the Russian governments, the alleged traitors of the United States, on the Trump team than a Democrat. So if you were going to label them Russian traitors, that would be about as effective and honest of a label as labeling somebody a racist, ironically in this Young Turks video where Cenk is labeling all these people racist. This is not evidence of anything. It's not evidence of white Putin support because he's white and people love white right-wingers. So what the hell are you talking about? Why are you even showing this?
Has Putin ever called me a racist? Has he threatened to get me fired for disagreeing with him? Has he shipped every middle-class job in my town to Russia? Did he manufacture a worldwide pandemic that wrecked my business and kept me indoors for 2 years? Is he teaching my children to embrace racial discrimination? Is he making fentanyl? Is he trying to snuff out Christianity? Does he eat dogs? These are fair questions, and the answer to all of them is no. Vladimir Putin didn't do any of that. So why does permanent Washington hate him so much?
So they just cut off Tucker Carlson right there before he was going to get into actually talking about Vladimir Putin. You see, what he was doing there was talking about how there are domestic issues, aka more pressing matters to the everyday American than the foreign policy issues with the Russian government, with the Russian Federation, with Vladimir Putin, that are more important and cause more problems. More people's lives are negatively affected by the left wing trying to cancel you, label you racist, get you fired, and get Tucker Carlson specifically fired for not believing the correct progressive positions, then Vladimir Putin is actually having impact on their day-to-day lives. That was the point that he was trying to make. That point is actually not even about Vladimir Putin. That point is about how the left and how domestic politics affects Americans' day-to-day lives more than foreign policy. This is not an unusual position. The Young Turks have taken very similar positions, so why are people freaking out? And again, why is this in this compilation of Tucker Carlson allegedly swearing fealty to Vladimir Putin because he's white and all the right wing loves whiteness and authoritarianism over all other things? This hasn't proved anything so far. They haven't even put anything related to whiteness and Vladimir Putin in this compilation. I just want you guys to be aware of that. I want you guys to notice that. I want you to remember that, because the Young Turks are definitely going to come back from this segment with smug, stupid smiles on their face.
They don't have boys swimming in girls' college swim meets.
How backward.
It's embarrassing.
How savage. How medieval. How medieval. This is why this whole thing's a scam.
So they cut back to Steve Bannon on this show. And by the way, I just realized that this compilation, whatever stupid intern put this together, literally only has 4 clips, and it's just broken up to give the illusion that there's more evidence than there actually is. And what is Steve Bannon and this other guy talking about as soon as they cut back to the same conversation, because the Young Turks have a lazy editor and they're buffoons who don't even realize that their compilation has nothing to do with Cenk's tweet? They're still talking about the transes. They're making sarcastic jokes about how Putin is so backwards because of the way they feel about the transes. This has nothing to do with whiteness or race or anything like that. That was nowhere in the compilation. 0 for 4 for the 4 clips, even if you break it up into 8 or 9 by cutting the same clips because you have a lazy editor. No evidence at all.
So there you have Eric Prince and Steve Bannon talking about how awesome Putin is because he doesn't believe in treating people who are different than they are, or have different lifestyles, different identities than them as you know, equals.
So I just want to point out, because you might be confused, you might be a little bit disturbed by what's being said, and you might think I'm actually cutting 2 separate videos together and talking about the second video instead of the first one. Trust me, this is the same video. This is the same segment. They just showed that compilation that was supposed to prove that the right wing supports Putin because he's white, and the white identity has taken over the right wing. And Anna's talking about how Bannon and this guy were saying that they don't like things that are different, even though they were specifically talking about transes. This does not prove anything that they said at all whatsoever. Do not be fooled by it. Don't be fooled by Anna's smug face. The compilation that they put together, prepared for this segment, proved nothing at all similar to what they were claiming. But Anna goes on.
You have Tucker Carlson listing off all the things that he loves about Putin, including the fact that Putin has never accused him of being racist.
Yeah.
You have to be one of the dumbest people on the internet.com if you hear Tucker Carlson say what he said, where he was listing off things that he doesn't like about the left wing, where he was listing off things that are actual problems in America, and then saying that he was listing off things that he likes about Vladimir Putin. I guess if you want to stretch it or twist it and say that he likes that Vladimir Putin isn't addicting people to fentanyl in the United States of America, then maybe you can make that point. But in reality, he was saying things that he doesn't like about the left and stating problems in the United States of America. But that flew totally over Anna Kasparian's head because that's how far gone she is.
So I want to talk about that, but part of the reason we brought up the tweet is because in so many of the responses from the right wing were, oh yeah, can you show one example? That's outrageous to say conservatives like Putin.
Yeah, we can show you examples.
We just did it.
Yeah.
Receipt upon top of receipt on top of receipt.
No, Cenk, no, you didn't show one example of conservatives liking Vladimir Putin because he's white. On top of that, you didn't show one example, maybe Steve Bannon, but again, the context of the conversation that they totally cut out could probably change what Steve Bannon was actually saying about Vladimir Putin. Doesn't even show people liking Vladimir Putin. Trump was talking about Crimea, you cut him off before he made his point, and Tucker Carlson was talking about problems in the United States of America and how the left is directing you to be mad at Vladimir Putin, but these are the more pressing issues in the day-to-day lives of Americans. This is very common for people whenever you're talking about foreign policy to make a point about domestic policy, so that way you don't have to focus on the overseas stuff, because a lot of people feel foreign policy is just a distraction and only thing we should be focusing on is the domestic issues in the United States. We've heard this a million times, take care of the country at home and then worry about the world. This is a thing that is obvious and is prominent in politics, and it has nothing to do with what Cenk originally alleged, and it has nothing to do with what Cenk is trying to change it to after realizing what an idiot he is.
Now I want to break down what Tucker said, because understand this, they do a scripted show. His script is in the teleprompter. He wrote it ahead of time. His producers wrote it and sanctioned it, and so did the executives. Executives look at scripts on cable shows. They did when I was on MSNBC. Okay.
So now Cenk is going to break down what Tucker says, but the first thing you need to know is that Tucker, he does a show on television. He doesn't shoot from the hip like Cenk and make a fool of himself. He actually has a script where he reads off the script and people review the script. And just so you know, there's a script. There's a relevant portion to this conversation. I want you to know that. But the first thing that you need to know, and is very important, is that there is in fact a script. And this was scripted, and Tucker Carlson was reading off the script that was in fact scripted. This is very important information that Cenk is going to prove to you, because you know who scripts things? white supremacists. What am I alleging? Vladimir Putin support due to whiteness, white supremacists. Oh my god, I'm Cenk Uygur. I'm basically a genius.
So everybody's on board. And he bothered to write it down. It wasn't off the cuff.
Oh, just in case you were wondering, he wrote it down. It wasn't off the cuff because, again, this was on a script. I don't know why you're emphasizing this point so much, Cenk. I'm going to emphasize this a lot in the video because you are weirdly emphasizing it here. But okay, sure. And you better not read anything because that would be off a script, Cenk. So I'm just saying, you better not read anything. I see you already looking down. That better not be you looking down to read something.
So the first thing is what Anna mentioned. Putin's never called me a racist. Now, why did he write that down? Why did he want to send that message?
Why did he write that down? Why did he put that on a script? Why did he want that written down on a script in his teleprompter? Remember, cable shows are scripted. Cenk is gonna tell you, and oh my god, the answer that Cenk gives to his insanely stupid question, because the answer of why Tucker wrote it down is because that's the format of his show, by the way, that's the actual answer, but the answer to why that was in there is because Tucker was saying that there's actually domestic people in the United States of America who have caused him personally more problems, and Americans personally more problems than Vladimir Putin, but Cenk's explanation is to the tops insane. Do people still say to the tops? Have they ever said to the tops? Who knows, but this is to the tops insanity.
So the first thing is what Anna mentioned. Putin's never called me a racist. Now, why did he write that down? Why did he want to send that message? He's saying, remember, the Democrats are the bad guys because they're not the same race as us.
Wait a minute. I had to have misheard that. Let me play that again.
He's saying, remember, the Democrats are the bad guys because they're not the same race as us.
Okay, it really sounds like I'm hearing what Cenk Uygur said correctly, but I just want to play it one more time so that we could be certain.
He's saying, remember, the Democrats are the bad guys because
they're not the same race as us.
So Cenk thinks that Tucker comparing foreign policy issues to domestic policy issues is him saying that the Democratic Party, which I think is like still 50% white, by the way, the leader of it is Joe Biden, he's a white guy, is the different race than us, and that's the enemy, because he said that Vladimir Putin doesn't call him a racist and try to get him taken off the show, something that the left wing actively tries to do, and Cenk is literally trying to do in this segment. But Cenk says he's saying the Democrats are the non-whites. Who views the world in this way except for Cenk Uygur and people on the left?
He's saying, remember, the Democrats are the bad guys because they're not the same race as us. And they call us racist, and it makes us uncomfortable just because we don't want them to be equal to us.
The only thing I can compare this to is essentially you fall down a flight of stairs, and during the course of you falling down this flight of stairs, you break your arm, you break your hip, you're pretty messed up, you got a bit of a concussion, and then you try to pull yourself back up, but then all of a sudden you're falling down another flight of stairs because it's one of those staircases that's got some churns, and you're just stumbling and bumbling your way through this and hurting yourself. Cenk thinks the steelman position of what Tucker Carlson is saying is that Tucker is angry at the Democrats because the Democrats are the non-whites, despite the fact that the leader of the Democrats, Joe Biden, is a white person, and that they're the enemy, unlike the Russians who are whites, but also they call me racist, Tucker Carlson, because me, Tucker Carlson, is trying to deny them equal rights, and what are they even upset about? This is how Cenk steelmans it. This is how Cenk is defending his moronic tweet. He couldn't find anything about Tucker Carlson praising Vladimir Putin because he's white, and this is what he's going to. Him just interpreting Tucker Carlson talking about domestic issues compared to foreign policy issues, and just adding in a whole bunch of other nonsense that's stuck in his brain. If you had any doubt that race has taken over and basically nuked Cenk's brain, this is it. He crafted a racial narrative out of nothing, put it out on Twitter, and now he's crafting more nonsense out of nothing and putting it out on YouTube in response to people making fun of his idiocy on Twitter.
On the other hand, Putin has never called us racist, and he doesn't mind us being in charge. He knows how to take charge.
So after you stumbled down the second flight of stairs, you basically popped out of a door, ended up on the street, and got hit by a bus. The idea that Tucker Carlson or anybody on the right is going to make the case that Vladimir Putin doesn't mind white Americans, because I guess that's who we're talking about, being in charge, when the whole alleged reason that he's doing this is to keep Ukraine away from NATO, makes no sense at all in any way, shape, or form. You're a buffoon, Cenk. What the hell is wrong with you? I don't even know what you're talking about.
And then you go to Steve Bannon and Eric Prince, they're like, Putin knows who to target. He's not gonna let any gay people get away with anything or even allow them to be, and he's gonna regulate on bathrooms. He's not woke.
So at least here, Cenk is identifying that Steve Bannon was talking about not the gays, but the transes. He's in the same ballpark, and he mentions the bathrooms. But again, this has literally nothing to do with Cenk's claim that the reason these people are supporting Vladimir Putin, which by the way, he hasn't provided evidence for, is due to the fact that Putin's white, and the white identity has overwhelmed anything. That's just not there. It's not what he's talking about. He's talking about the transes and calling them the gayses. I don't know what to go from here. I don't know what we're talking about.
They're cheerleading for him. Why? Because he's kind of a white right-wing hero to them.
Cenk, you can't just do this. You can't make arguments this way. I don't know who you think you're convincing. Maybe your audience is even dumber than I thought. You can't make an outrageous claim on Twitter, then purport to show evidence on your YouTube show clips that are completely disconnected from the claim that you were making, and then just restate your initial hypothesis after saying some crazy nonsense garbage as if you've proven anything remotely to what you're talking about. What the hell is wrong with you? Are you okay? Do I need to call somebody because you might need help? Crisis intervention team, where you at? Does LA have one? Somebody save Cenk Uygur.
Look at this shirt that the guys were wearing in that picture. It's not about two randos. They're getting that because right-wing media is giving and feeding them that, and that's why those shirts are made in the first place. It's symbolic. I'd rather be Russian than a Democrat. Why? Because in their minds, Democrats are the others. They're minorities. They're blacks, they're brown, they're Asian. And so I'd rather be Russian than a Democrat.
It's hard for me to form an argument against this because Cenk is just stating his position in even dumber ways over and over again. The reason for the shirt, as I stated earlier in the video, is because people were saying that President Trump was tied in, put in power, the puppet of Vladimir Putin and the Russians. So what these people were saying was they would rather choose the Russians over the Democrats because the Democrats are the problem that they're worried about in the United States of America. This was tongue-in-cheek. This was a joke. The idea that they were saying the Democrats are the minorities, get those non-whites, is crazy in every way.
Because in their minds, Democrats are the others. They're minorities. They're blacks, they're brown, they're Asian. And so I'd rather be Russian than a Democrat because their identity has become super focused on their race.
Cenk, again, restating your position is not an argument. On top of that, your identity is totally wrapped up in your race. You just said Democrats are browns, they're black, they're Asian, they're non-white. This is what you associate with the Democratic Party. This is who you think they are because you are linking politics and race. This is always something in your head. This is always something that's bothered you. This is always something that you've been uncomfortable about, and you're projecting it on two random dudes who bought a shirt tongue-in-cheek making fun of the whole Russia collusion hoax, which, by the way, you pushed on your show, and then you ultimately pretended like you didn't do it after it turned out that the collusion narrative was nonsensical.
It was super curious that he said, does he eat dogs? Why did he write that? What is that in reference to? Are Democrats trying to get you to eat dogs? That's not a thing that's been in the news at all. No, that's a reference to Asians. So he purposely put an anti-Asian sentiment in there to say, remember guys, Putin is white, Democrats are black and brown, and Asian. We don't like the Asians either. We like strong white warlords. And everybody cheered.
We like strong white warlords.
We like strong white warlords.
Cenk, calm down. Stop yelling at the camera. Seek medical attention. There is something wrong with you. The reason the does he eat dogs thing was put in there was not a shot at Asians. Again, Cenk, you are associating Asians with eating weird things because you're the racist, ironically, in this whole segment. It was because the American people like dogs. So that was a joke about Vladimir Putin not liking dogs or liking them so much that he's eating them, because Americans dislike people who harm dogs. This is something that is so obvious that anybody could find, but you think randomly he was taking a shot at Asians so he could say that he loves—
We like strong white warlords.
White warlords. Really, this is where Cenk is going with this. This is the absurdity that is on display at the Young Turks right now in order for Cenk to defend his cartoonishly stupid positions.
Look, I'm tired of people behaving a certain way and then throwing temper tantrums when others judge them based on the way they're behaving. Oh, so you said that it was a white guy. What happened? Tired of people behaving a certain way and then throwing temper tantrums when others judge them based on the way they're behaving.
But am I saying that I'm better than you? I guess I'm going a little further than you are. Yeah, I'm fucking better than you.
Okay, much better than you.
You are garbage.
You're garbage.
Tired of people behaving a certain way and then throwing temper tantrums when others judge them based on the way they're behaving.
I have no respect for women who voted for Trump, okay?
Yeah, me too.
I think so poorly of them, and the reason why is because, look, I don't think that you're a single issue voter. I just think you're dumb, okay? I think you're fucking dumb. Yeah, you're an idiot. You're an idiot,
Yes.
okay? You are voting against your best interests. I'm losing my mind tonight because of how stupid the majority of the country is.
Tired of people behaving a certain way and then throwing temper tantrums when others judge them based on the way they're behaving.
But look, they took that statement, I'm better than you, out of context and used it in ways to make it seem as though I thought I was better than the general population, which of course I don't.
Yeah, you're an idiot. You're an idiot,
Yes.
okay? You are voting against your best interests. I'm losing my mind tonight because of how stupid the majority of the country is.
Tired of people behaving a certain way and then throwing temper tantrums when others judge them based on the way they're behaving.
You mean like the time that you freaked out and screamed, I'm better than you, much better than you are garbage, through a temper tantrum, and now for years, we're on year 6 or 7, you've been mad that people play that clip over and over again and you keep trying to justify it, Anna? You mean you don't like that you've done all these embarrassing things publicly and people have pointed it out? You're sick of that? Okay, Anna.
So they proudly spew their hatred, homophobia, xenophobia, racism, whatever it is, day in, day out. They have proudly made that their identity. And then when something pops off and they get called out on it, they just get together and have their simultaneous Twitter meltdown over it. Have a meltdown over it.
Why don't you just say these things into the mirror, Anna, instead of into a camera so we can laugh at them? Laugh at yourself, shame yourself, because you're the ones with the internal problems.
Where they get to come out of the closet and say, yes, Putin is our hero.
So this is where we're at. This is what's going on the Young Turks, and this is where I was originally going to leave off my video. But of course, the following day, the Young Turks put out a video because Tucker Carlson said he's anti-war, the Russians started this war, and he doesn't support this, so they had to do a follow-up explaining how their stupid positions can be rationalized, and you will not believe what they went to. First, let's play the intro to their video, John Iadarola and Cenk instead of Anna Kasparian, just so you can see.
After months of prematurely defending not only the Russian buildup outside of Ukraine, but trying to persuade his millions of viewers to not care about what happens in Ukraine, to question why it is that they might be predisposed to think that their interests might not align with Vladimir Putin. Tucker Carlson is now, in the wake of the full-on invasion, sort of admitting that Putin might be doing something bad.
What's happening in Ukraine, whatever its scale, and it's not totally clear right now, but whatever it is, it's a tragedy because war always is a tragedy, and the closer you get to it, the more horrifying it seems. It's the ugliest thing that men do, ever. Vladimir Putin started this war, so whatever the context of the decision that he made, he did it. He fired the first shots. He is to blame for what we're seeing tonight in Ukraine.
So Tucker says he's not in favor of this. He says he's anti-war. The Russians started this war. Whatever their reasons don't matter to him because they are the aggressors in this scenario. And then John smugly was like, oh, well, he finally found the right position.
Okay, well, assuming that's all we watch, he seems like a responsible broadcaster who understands the stakes, understands how to assign blame.
And then they play this compilation of Tucker Carlson supposedly being a hypocrite, even though he's talking about Russia and Ukraine prior to Russia invading Ukraine and his feelings on the whole hysteria surrounding Russia then. And by the way, Tucker Carlson's actually one of those people who said the invasion wouldn't happen, but he's admitted that he's wrong. And the Young Turks are going to try to put some kind of hypocrisy angle, even though there's no hypocrisy angle to push. Tucker didn't want saber rattling against Russia because he thought it might lead to a war because he's in general anti-war. And then the Russians started a war, and because he's anti-war, he condemned the Russians rather than blaming the United States of America. That's what happened. That's what occurred. That's what you guys could all see in those clips. There's no hypocrisy, but Cenk is going to make this point, and I just gotta play it for you because there's nothing else that could be said about this other than you hearing Cenk's words.
Tucker Carlson basically A/B tests his audience. What that means is he puts his finger to the wind and he's like, which way they're going? Oh, they don't like black people. Okay, we're gonna focus on that. Immigrants, they hate immigrants. We're gonna focus a lot on that. Let me call them dirty, see if people get mad or not. Their immigrants are dirty. Well, no, they didn't get mad. They really liked it. Okay, I'm gonna do that again, right? And you see him doing it on air. It's amazing. And then that's why sometimes there'll be a drastic change because he was testing A, now he's testing B. And so why does he make those changes? Well, the whole shtick about white authoritarian leaders in Europe was playing really well. Viktor Orban in Hungary and Vladimir Putin in Russia, and they're so strong and they're not woke, and none of that nonsense, okay? And Vladimir Putin never questioned, anything about race. I mean, so he's good. Gee, I wonder why I mentioned race in the middle of this. People, I put out a tweet, we talked about it on yesterday's show, and mentioning about how the conservatives are supporting him, not just because he's an authoritarian leader, but because he's a white authoritarian leader.
So here you have Cenk trying to reconcile his stupid tweet and his segment from one day prior about how right-wingers, and specifically Tucker Carlson, are pro-Putin because he's white, and they're pro-white authoritarian dictators. And this is a setup that this was playing well for the crowd, but just wait until you see where this goes.
About how the conservatives are supporting him, not just because he's an authoritarian leader, but because he's a white authoritarian leader. And conservatives pretend to be outraged as if, but I didn't mention race, Tucker Carlson mentioned race. I'm pointing out that Tucker Carlson mentioned race.
Now, I said it earlier in the video, the reason he mentioned Vladimir Putin not calling him a racist is because he was talking about what the Democrats were commanding Americans to do. And he was also discussing how the Democrats and their arms in the media have tried to get him off the air by labeling him a racist. Perfectly valid context to talk about how people on the left are calling him a racist. On top of that, Cenk Uygur is literally calling Tucker Carlson a racist right now in this segment.
I didn't mention race, Tucker Carlson mentioned race. I'm pointing out that Tucker Carlson mentioned race.
Cenk, Tucker Carlson was pointing out that people on the left always mention race and they label everybody they disagree with politically racist. You always mention race on your show and you are labeling Tucker Carlson right now a racist and trying to do a backwards justification end around like you don't know what you're doing constantly. What the hell is wrong with you? Oh wait, I know the answer to that. You're lying and you're also insane and you're also a buffoon.
And he made a reference to Asians as well in that spiel. He's like, Putin never ate dogs. Never ate dogs? Bringing in Asian stereotypes, like horrible ones out of nowhere, right? Because he's doing a dog whistle. And, well, literally on that one.
No, Cenk, let's be clear about something. Tucker Carlson did not make a reference to Asians there. You heard Tucker Carlson make a reference to the fact that Americans like dogs, and you decided to tie that into Asians because of your own racism and your own issues with Asians and race in the United States of America. That would be your problem. Also, you want to work in another enemy for Tucker Carlson and for the right wing because you are trying to gin up hysteria around race, and you need all the allies that you could possibly have to go after the imaginary evil white racists that totally exist, but you still have to stretch and churn and twist everything in order to manufacture the racism because the real racism is there, but they wouldn't be able to find it if not for your keen ears. Shut up, Cenk.
And his audience before was eating it up. But today, Newsmax put out a statement questioning his loyalty to America. Now that's a right-wing organization going further right than him.
So Cenk says that Newsmax was trying to outflank Tucker Carlson. By the way, Newsmax and all these other competitors to Fox News constantly try to outflank Tucker Carlson and Fox News. Mike Lindell has his own version, Lindell TV or something. That's the MyPillow guy, by the way. And he was talking about in our interview with him at CPAC that we did, it's over on Nuance Bros channel, how Fox News doesn't tell you the truth about him because that's what all these competitors do. They call Fox the corporate establishment and they attack him. Also, people have said that Tucker Carlson is tied into Vladimir Putin, is a puppet of the Russian government, and all this stuff before, so it's unlikely that a smaller network on the right flank was going to change his position. Again, especially when Tucker Carlson's position was anti-war, and he's being consistent on that since the Russians have launched this war.
And now I think that as people see brave Ukrainians fighting back against Russia, and they see the Klitschkos, who are heavyweight champions now, Vitaly's the mayor of Ukraine, and they see all of these heroic, I'm gonna keep it real, all of these heroic white men fighting against the Russians, all of a sudden, being Putin's best friend is not playing well for Tucker Carlson.
All these heroic white men.
All of these heroic white men.
All of these heroic white men.
These videos were released one day apart. The Young Turks does a daily show, and this show was the day after the previous show. Cenk just said that Tucker Carlson and the right-wing support of the Ukrainian people is actually due to the fact that they're brave, let's keep it real, white people. I was joking about how people on the left have basically said either side were racist because, you know, the Ukrainians are racist and the Russians are racist, and I use Cenk versus Jimmy Dore as an example. But now we have Cenk literally changing his position within 24 hours, talk about a 180 to say that support for the Ukrainian people among the right wing is due to the fact that they're evil white racists and they see all these brave white people. This is white people, according to Cenk, white people fighting white people, and whatever side you're on, if you're an American, makes you a racist white person. How stupid can you be? How can you call Tucker Carlson out for making a 180 when you were taking him out of context in the first place to make the first point, and his position is 100% consistent, but you've just made a 180. You just said Tucker supporting Putin, which he didn't support, is him supporting him and the right wing supporting him because evil white racist right wing. Now you're saying their support for the Ukrainians, which the day before you said was good and compared to them supporting Putin, which was bad, is also them supporting them because evil white racist right wingers. It's insane. This whole thing is insanity. I wish I could make this up, but if I told you this, if I told you a story about a fictitious left-wing host taking these two positions 24 hours apart, you would not believe it because that's how stupid it is, but I just played the tape, and Cenk is that stupid. He is your guy. He's your man right then, right there. That's Cenk Uygur. What are we going to do with people like Cenk, other than just laugh at them? You know what? I found the answer to my own question, and it, of course, is to just laugh at them. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you liked the video, show me by leaving a like. You can subscribe for more content. Follow me on all my social media. Support me via the support links in the description box. This has been me talking about Cenk, saying any side that the right wing supports in the Ukraine-Russia thing is due to the fact that they're evil white racists who put whiteness above all other things because Cenk is a nutjob. But hey, whatever. Till next time.